Hello and welcome to the E3 2019 show floor demo of Phoenix Point. For those of you who weren't able to attend E3, this is the demo scenario that we had available for play over in the Microsoft Theatre. I'm going to be running you through the gameplay for this mission. This is a mission that I have done several times before, so I'm going through it quite quickly in this demonstration. First of all, I am moving all of my units into a better position. I have my technician with his deployed turret guarding the closest entrance to the central building. I also have my assault and my sniper both on Overwatch watching the same entrance. Moving my heavy up onto the outer walkway of the central building. This building actually has an open roof, so putting the heavy up high is a good position for him to be able to get around the whole map quite quickly and be able to see both inside and outside of the building. Starting to move the Scarab up around on the right hand side, on the outside of the building. Now this vehicle is quite susceptible to explosives, to artillery, to grenades, so being careful to keep it out of the way. It's already just taken a grenade hit from something on the roof of that outer building. We are taking a lot of shots from something inside the building. We can't actually see what that is yet, but we do see a crabman heading our way. Luckily, the turret that our technician dropped is drawing a lot of the fire, so we haven't actually taken any injuries to our squad yet. I am going to use my technician's repair ability just to heal that turret back up to full health, as it is quite a handy little damage tank for us. Going to move my technician away from the entrance to the building because that's where most of the fire was coming in from, and I'm going to put him on Overwatch watching the right hand side of the building. Moving up to my heavy, we see the crabman that we spotted move before, but instead of taking a shot at him, I'm actually going to fire into the area where the grenade came from. We can't actually see the crabman there, we don't have a line of sight, but we know something was there, and I can tell by the sound effect that I've scored a hit. And the fact that my heavy gained 2 willpower there means we did indeed kill him. So without even being able to see that particular target, we were able to take him out. Moving up a little bit with the Scarab, being careful to creep forward so we don't spot too many things at once, and using it to carefully scout out the edge of the map. Setting my sniper on Overwatch in the same position as our technician, mostly because I know what is lurking around that corner. Now we start moving in with our assault because there are quite a few crabmen inside the building that we need to deal with. We've already spotted 3 over there on the left, all nicely clustered together, so this is the perfect opportunity for a grenade. Just a little bit tricky trying to find a good spot where we can get an arc because there is a walkway above us, and if we're not careful, the grenade will hit the underside of the walkway when we throw it. So I did have to reposition slightly, and we throw out that grenade. We don't get any kills, but we significantly damage all of them enough to make sure they bleed out at the end of this turn. So while they're still alive now, they won't be for much longer. Popping exertion on the assault to give him some more time units. That means we can get him back outside and around the corner and put him in the relative safety of cover. As we end the turn, those 3 crabmen all die from the bleeds they had from the grenade. And we can see that we have a mind fragger. Our sniper takes a reaction fire and misses. Our technician takes a Overwatch fire and also misses, which was a shame. It did manage to get me, and luckily our technician is the unit that is designed for removing these things. Now we could always go and shoot it off. Our turret is taking some more shots from crabmen inside the central building. Our turret returns fire. Does actually score a hit as well. We heard the crabman go down, which is fantastic. This is good. It means the turret didn't actually fire at our technician, so I'm going to use the pistol on my sniper and use that to shoot the mind fragger off the head of our technician. So we didn't actually take any damage on the technician, which is all good. We've got one more enemy we can see, which is the one that was shot at by our turret. He is still alive. He's got a shield and decided that he's a little bit too far away to gamble on taking the shot with the sniper's pistol. So I'm going to put my sniper closer to the ladder so we can get him up on the roof with the heavy. Going to move in once again with the assault. And we're just going to use our assault rifle and take a shot at the crabman, aiming for the leg, trying to get a bit that is exposed underneath the shield. and that gives us 2 more willpower. So far we've cleared up most of the enemies that we were able to see on the map. Scooch forwards with the Scarab, and we can see we've got another Crabman here just behind the wall. Can't do an awful lot about him right now. I don't want to fire at an enemy that close with the Scarab's rocket launcher, so we'll move forwards just a little bit more. And we do spot another Crabman, this time hiding behind the building, just to the left of the rear doors. Cycling through my units to see what I have left. I do have movement on my heavy. Unfortunately, I can't move into a space where I can shoot that Crabman on the right, so we'll just edge forwards and end the turn. Now we can see that there is a Chiron in the opposite corner in the far rear left of the map. We shouldn't have to worry too much about him. Most of our guys are inside, but the Scarab does receive a grenade from the Crabman hiding behind the walkway, as well as some machine gun fire. So the Scarab not as heavily armoured as the NPC Armadillo. It does take damage a little bit more easily than the Armadillo. So we have to be careful not to leave it out in the open too much. As we can see, we're already taking quite a bit of enemy fire. But that's good. While they're firing at the Scarab, they're not firing at my soldiers. So let's hedge forwards with the Scarab a little bit more. And we have a good line of sight on that Chiron. The Scarab's rocket launcher can pretty much hit anything on the map from anywhere, so we're going to take our first shot, fire at that Chiron. We did a significant amount of damage to it, but of course our Scarab draws some reaction fire from the Crabmen that can see it. Unfortunate, but the tank is very much doing its job there. Going to keep hedging forwards with the heavy. Again, as I've played this mission before, I know what is to come, so that's always handy for getting my units in a good position to deal with those things. I'm going to get my sniper up onto the roof for the same reason. It's always advantageous to have the sniper up high, just because you will generally have a better line of sight to things on the map. Keeping him in cover, but going to move him towards the edge, just so he might get an opportunity to pick off anything lurking outside later on. In the meantime, we'll keep moving through the facility with our assault in the hopes that we might find something. Didn't spot anything on this turn, but I'm going to set an overwatch facing the leftmost entrance to the building, and then that just leaves us with our technician, who I'm also going to move inside the building. And I'm going to drop down his second turret. One, because it's an extra bit of firepower, but also because it will draw enemy fire quite often. Move him away from it a little bit just to put him in some better cover. And the camera centers on our heavy as the Chiron fires a volley. Now, luckily, because it's a parabolic arc and it's not 100% accurate, it actually missed the walkway that the heavy was on, and both shots landed either side of him. So our heavy survived that quite nicely without taking any damage. We are taking some shots on the Scarab again. It's still got about 75% of its hit points left, so that is good for us. Now, unfortunately, our assault takes a few shots from a Crabman who was lurking outside. He didn't step around the corner, so that meant he didn't trigger our overwatch as our assault takes another hit. So he's quite badly damaged, but he isn't bleeding, which is a good thing. Our heavy takes, our sniper takes a few shots from one of the Crabmen on the ground, but it doesn't look like any of them connect. They all seem to hit the railing. That was our value turret there, actually doing quite a good job, disabling the grenade launcher of the Crabman outside, putting a bleed on him as well, though he still has 4 hit points, so he's not going to die on the next turn. But I decide the important thing to do here is to try and get my assault back up to full health, so we use the technician's medikit to give him a heal. That leaves my technician free to then deal with said Crabman. I'm going to switch to the shotgun. The shotgun is much better at close range. And I'm going to try to put my assault into a position where he can take a shot without being at too much risk. So with the shotgun, nice central location, and there we go. That is that Crabman dealt with. And I'm just going to pull the assault back 1 space so that he's not standing in the doorway. Although the only thing that could see him was the Chiron, which is now unable to move because all its legs are disabled. It's going to bleed out in 2 turns anyway, but we'll take another shot at it with the Scarab. And that is the Chiron down. We don't need to worry about him anymore. So that's the end of the artillery strikes. I will keep moving around the outside of the building. We can see that Crabman down there on the right hand side has now panicked, probably due to the death of the Chiron. But I am able to get a line of sight on him with my sniper. I decide it's probably best to try and go for his grenade arm and disable that grenade launcher, and we actually managed to damage it. Just cycling around all of my units. Having a look to see if there's any good positions I can put my heavy into to take a better shot. There isn't really. So we're going to take a gamble and fire at that heavy. And we were quite lucky, despite that being a relatively inaccurate weapon. It's the Hell Cannon. We did manage to hit. So here comes Queenie. She spawns on the map after a set number of turns. She's up in the far back right-hand corner, along with another Crabman that we can see right next to our Scarab. And the Queen is now going to start spawning mine fraggers, which are very inconvenient. So she's going to scooch around the map a little bit, and back to my turn. So I've deliberately tried to save as many explosives as I could, because the Queen is still relatively well armoured. This particular version of the Queen has the armoured legs, but she also has the goose spitter head and the mist emitter. So we managed to do a fair amount of damage, although she does have 147 health to start with, so it's still going to take quite a bit of time to get her down. And she has started to spawn the mist, which is a reaction to taking a hit. So we want to keep out of that. I'm going to use my Heavy's rocket launcher to try and get a couple more shots in there, just trying to maximise the amount of body parts that I can hit with the explosion. And if we're really lucky, we can also get that mine fragger at the same time, although we can't actually see it, so we don't know if that happened or not. Switching back over to my assault, I decided to go and check out the chest and see if there's anything useful in there. A couple of extra grenades, so we definitely want to grab a couple of those. Not sure why I didn't automatically put it into his ready slot. Instead I put it into his backpack. That was a misplay on my part, but I can ready up. This assault guy actually has an ability that allows him to move things from his backpack to his ready slots without it costing any action. So it wasn't that much of a misstep, but I should have just done that in the first place. Out goes the grenade onto that Crabman. That's his grenade arm and his machine gun destroyed. So we don't have to worry about him anymore. He has 2 bleeds on him and only 9 health. So he will survive for another 5 turns, but it's okay because he can't do anything to us. So we don't have to worry about that. I'm going to go back and open up the crate with the technician because I saw that there was another turret in there. So I will pick up the turret and the second grenade. Just having a small little think about where to put him, and I decide it's best to just keep him out of the way until we get the Queen a little bit weaker. There may well still be some enemies on the map. Trying to have a look to see if it's possible to do any sort of damage with the sniper from where he is, and I decide that there isn't really a good spot to hit from the high ground, and I decide to jump down. Now, it doesn't actually adjust anything like crit chance because that doesn't exist in Phoenix Point. And I actually decide to use the sniper to finish that Crabman at the back, so he has gone. And the Queen is using her goo spitter head attack. So that is basically going to prevent us from moving the Scarab. That is not a huge concern at this point. We can see that mine fragger now. It is starting to move towards the Scarab. The Scarab only has 1 volley left, so we are going to fire that at the Queen. You'll also notice that the explosion destroys the mist as well. So cycling back round to our assault, we're going to try and move him closer towards the Queen. So we have a line of sight on the Queen. I'm going to move 1 more of my grenades into my ready slot. And I'm actually going to use it on the mine fragger because that is the biggest threat to me right now. And it was actually enough to kill it. Even though the predicted damage thought it might be slightly less, we could get lucky with the explosion. So now I'm going to start moving forwards with my technician as well. The turrets seem to work particularly effectively against the Queen, so I'm going to drop down a turret. And then switching to my heavy, picking up the missile launcher for the second shot. So we've already got 2 bleeds on the Queen. Got her down to 92 health now. She's now the only enemy on the map that we can see. Hoping that it is the last one. Going to use my sniper to try and take a shot. Aiming for the head, because the head has the lowest armor at this point. Only 1 armor there. We've got the head disabled, so there will be no more goose spitting going on this particular mission. Reloading the missile launcher for my heavy so that I can fire a 3rd shot. So he does carry two missiles in the missile launcher, but he also has a 3rd one in his backpack. Some automated fire from our turret actually did quite well. It did a huge amount of damage to the Queen. I've actually seen, I think it was Julian playing a mission where he had a whole row of turrets down and they were just ripping the Queen apart. And that was quite impressive to see. Moving with the heavy into a slightly better position, because now we are going to try and hit with the Hell Cannon if we can. Once again, aiming for the head as it has the lowest armor, but we were unlucky and the shot did miss. Even though the Queen has 4 bleeds on her at the moment, it isn't going to be enough to do any significant amount of damage. Just scanning around, checking on the different body parts, checking how much health they have and how much armor is on all of them. Decide to take the shot against her right smasher because I'm trying to disable all of her attacks. So we've already disabled the goose bit ahead. We've disabled one of the smashers. We also need to get the other one if possible. Starting to move up with my assault, once again checking the chests as we go, because you never know if there's going to be anything useful in there. Once again we can find some grenades. This time I did remember to put one in the ready slot, rather than just putting them both in the backpack. And we have enough time units to be able to throw a grenade. Our assault also has the ability that allows him to throw grenades twice as far as anybody else. So that is nice and useful for keeping him out of harm's way. As the Queen's already got a few disabled legs, she can't really move too far right now. Checking out this crate with the Technician, again we can see that we have another grenade and another turret, picking both of those up. Don't really have enough time units left to do anything else with the Technician, so just crossing my fingers and hoping that he manages to survive this. So the Queen does start to walk towards the Technician. This is the bit where I get a little worried. We do get a reaction fire from our turret, which again does a huge amount of damage. Can't do anything with the Scarab, so let us see if we can finish the Queen off nice and quickly here. Shouldn't be able to miss this time with the heavy. She's nice and close to us, so this should be pretty much a guaranteed hit. 17 damage and a stun. So with only 18 hit points remaining, she should be relatively easy to take out now. We're going to use the assault rifle. Again, scanning around to see how much armor all of these body parts have. And then I decide it's probably slightly better to switch to the shotgun. And we fire at one of her legs, disabling the leg. Because I haven't moved the assault, we do get a second shot. So I'm just going to go right into the torso there and finish her off. So this has been the E3 2019 show floor demo for Phoenix Point. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.